Okay, I just finished watching Monday Night Raw for February 6, 2012, and they were in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, which surprised me that they didn't mess with JR at all on this show. I thought for sure they would bring him out to embarrass him like they always do when they're in Oklahoma. But yeah, there was no JR here tonight, and there was no Jack Swagger either. They started the show off with a recap of Undertaker and Triple H from last week. Their meeting where Taker stares at the sign and tries to get a match with Triple H, but Triple H kind of just blows him off. So they start the show, and Triple H comes down to the ring, and he says, "Last week I was going to fire John Laurinaitis." He says, he's a backstabber, a weasel, an ass kisser, and those are his good qualities. Says he's at the board of directors meeting, and he's been there all morning, and he's trying to get a last chance to save his job. And they may make a decision tomorrow morning, which later on in the show they confirm. Basically, John Laurinaitis went to the board of directors to save his job, and he tried to convince him to give him another chance, and they decided they would announce their decision tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on WWE.com. So they could have just gone ahead and told us here, but they really just want to get traffic to their website, I guess, and maybe get some Twitter buzz. I don't know why, but yeah, that's pretty much the only reason they do it. So anyway, Triple H starts talking about The Undertaker. And, after their match last year at WrestleMania, he had never had to be helped to the back before. He just did a number on him. He talks about how The Undertaker's entrance would always give him chills. And he would be in awe of The Undertaker. And after 20 years in the business, no one's ever made Triple H feel that way. He was truly humbled, he says, by The Undertaker. But, he said that after last week when The Undertaker came out, he didn't feel any of that. He didn't feel the butterflies in the stomach. He didn't feel the chills up his spine. He wasn't in awe of The Undertaker. He wasn't humbled by The Undertaker. He just felt sorry for The Undertaker. He was sorry for what he did to him at WrestleMania last year. He felt bad for him. And instead of focusing on that Undertaker, he chooses to remember him in a different light. And they play kind of a video montage of The Undertaker's career and, him going through the different phases, the Phantom of the Opera mask. Actually, I don't know if they show the Phantom of the Opera mask. They didn't show any Ministry of Darkness stuff either. And they showed very little of the American Badass Undertaker, but they kind of go through his whole career and show from the gray gloves, the purple gloves, and basically he just says, "This is how I choose to remember him. That's The Undertaker." And he says, "This is not The Undertaker." And then they show a clip of Undertaker from WrestleMania last year, and he's all beat up and trying to walk and just having to be helped to the back. So he shows that and he says, that's not The Undertaker. And The Undertaker has a record that will never be broken. He's the most dominant force ever in the WWE. And, he challenged him for the match at WrestleMania this year, but out of respect for the man, he says, "No, I'm going to have to say no." And he says, "I know that's not the most popular decision, but that's the choice I have to make, and it's out of respect for The Undertaker. And basically, if they ever wrestled again, he knows what he would have to do. And The Undertaker knows what he would have to do, which I guess means kill him. I mean, he beat him up pretty bad last year, so the only thing left to do would be to murder him, I suppose. And he says, maybe that's what The Undertaker wants, is for me to finish it. But last year at WrestleMania, I pushed him to his limits. He pushed me to my limits. And I saw where his limits are. And I don't want to be the guy to push him over his limits." So Triple H basically just says, "This is over." And he, starts to leave. when all of a sudden the lights go out and they play kind of a promo video. The Undertaker is sitting somewhere, and he's got a chair made of the Undertaker symbol. So I guess he's supposed to be at home and he's got Undertaker chairs, but he's watching like all this old footage from WrestleMania. And they're playing some kind of crazy like industrial music, and he says, I can't, this is not over. I will not let this be my legacy. This will not be my image through the years. And he's staring at all these pictures of Triple H. So I guess after WrestleMania last year, The Undertaker just stared at Triple H all these years, just focused on him. And it was really weird, but basically he says, give me what I want, vengeance, and I will give you, one more shot at immortality. So Triple H is just kind of staring at this promo, and that's it, really. So I guess it's, Triple H versus Undertaker at WrestleMania is going to happen eventually. They've started the build for it now. I don't know. I think they may just have to come up with some way to kill The Undertaker off at WrestleMania. I mean, he's not exactly the type of character who just comes out and retires on television and says, this is my last match, but I think it's pretty much accepted by everyone that this is going to be Undertaker's last match, and it's really weird that you're going to have to see them try and kill this character off somehow. I don't know what they're going to do, maybe bury him alive or something, but something like that is going to have to happen. So Big Show comes out, and they show the promo video again of Big Show running into AJ for the millionth time. Bryan comes down to the ring. He calls for AJ to come with him. She's still wearing the neck brace. Someone actually yells something about Jay Lethal, who I guess helped train her, and they were dating for a little bit, but someone in the audience yells something to her about him when they're walking down. I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, she's wearing some kind of red anchor shirt like Wade Barrett's tights. I guess they really like anchors in WWE. But they basically have their match. It's Big Show versus Daniel Bryan. And Show pretty much just dominates him. Daniel Bryan hits this drop kick to Big Show's knee at one point. Big Show takes a huge tumble. Just a massive bump from this. But he goes for the choke slam on Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan gets him in kind of a submission hold. He goes up to the top rope, but Big Show goes for the WMD on him. So Daniel Bryan jumps down to the apron. Big Show hits him with a kick, and Daniel Bryan flies to the outside, almost hitting AJ. And some fan starts, like he's acting like he hurt his knee, and some fan says, "You need to eat a piece of meat." And he just keeps saying that to him over and over, but still playing up his vegan angle. So it's funny that the fans are going with that now. But yeah, Big Show comes down to him, and Daniel Bryan's acting like his knee's really hurt, and AJ says, she's talking to him like, "Are you okay?" And Big Show comes down to the outside where Daniel Bryan is, and she's like, please don't hurt him." And so Big Show turns his back on him, and Daniel Bryan gets up and attacks him. Just perfect heel. And Big Show fights him off and pushes him, and then he charges at him into the metal stairs. Daniel Bryan gets out of the way, and Big Show almost crushes AJ between the metal stairs. And, the fans are like, "Oh my God." But Daniel Bryan just stares in horror at this, like AJ almost getting crushed again. And, he grabs her hand, and they just kind of walk up the entranceway. Daniel Bryan gets counted out, so he loses the match, and Big Show's just staring at him from the ring. And, Daniel Bryan's walking up to the top, and he grabs a mic, and he says, he just starts calling Big Show a freak again, and that he proved the first time he ran over AJ was on purpose because he could have stopped himself like he did tonight. But he chose not to. He said, "Why would you want to torture her? Is this all about the title? Is the heavyweight title worth this much?" And he says, "It's not that important, and this woman, AJ, is more important to me than winning or losing any match." And at the Elimination Chamber, I'm still going to be Daniel Bryan. I'm still going to be a vegan. And I'm still going to be the World Heavyweight Champion. So that's it. That's the segment. And Daniel Bryan was just great here. I mean, they gave this guy the ball, and he really ran with it. He has not messed up at all. He's been great as a heel. And if they ever do turn him babyface, then this heel run is just going to make him a better babyface. So it's all good for Daniel Bryan right now. They show this really weird clip of a NASCAR driver. They said it was from last Monday, but I did not see this, so I guess maybe they cut it short for time or something. But Carl Edwards is a NASCAR driver, and apparently he comes to the show and he tells Cena that he's been invited to wave the flag at the Daytona 500. Cena says, "I accept." The NASCAR guy says, "I'm going to watch WrestleMania," and Cena talks about how he's going to, beat The Rock and everything, and that was it. So David Otunga comes out, and he says, "I'm a Harvard graduate." He's not wearing his ring gear, by the way. He's just out in his suit with the coffee and everything, the bow tie. And he says, "I'm a Harvard graduate, and honestly, I can say that I have never had a boss as insightful, creative, or intelligent as John Laurinaitis. And he can only hope, no, pray, that the board of directors keep him as the general manager." And he asks everybody to pray with him. He kind of gets down on one knee and puts his hand up, and he acts like he's praying. All of a sudden, the announcer says that the COO, Triple H, has made a match for David Otunga starting right now. And Otunga's freaking out saying, "I'm not even dressed, I'm not even in my ring gear." But all of a sudden Sheamus comes out. So they do a quick little match of Sheamus versus Otunga. Sheamus just beats the crap out of him pretty much. He rips his shirt off and just rips it open, and he starts beating on his chest over the ropes like he's been doing for the past few months. Otunga gets a kick in. He hits a DDT on Sheamus, which looked really brutal. Like Sheamus's neck looked like it landed wrong, but Otunga just kind of attacks him and stays on him and punches him. He gets up and takes his shirt off, and then when he turns around, he gets hit with the brogue kick, and Sheamus wins. So that's all there was to that. You see Chris Jericho walking backstage. Some guy walks by him and he gives him a smug look. It was pretty funny, but the next segment starts and Chris Jericho comes out. He basically, they show a recap of what he did to CM Punk last week. And he kind of says, it's the end of the world. It's the end of all the plagiarizers, all the thieves. Says all the wrestlers in the back are wannabes. They're just cheap rip-offs of him. Now that he's back, there's no need for him. He says all the audience members are wannabes. All the wrestlers just copy and steal from him. He talks about how he manipulated the audience without saying a word. He said, "I trolled you all, and you all ate it up." He talks about all the guys who he's facing in the Elimination Chamber and how they're all wannabes of him. He says The Miz, he comes out in a suit and talks really slowly on the mic. And Chris Jericho said, "I did that first. Before Kofi did all these incredible moves, I did things you have never seen before." R-Truth says, "What's up?" I say, "Shut the hell up." He said, "Before Dolph Ziggler came out with Vicky Guerrero, I headlined WrestleMania 18 with Stephanie McMahon by my side." And he says, "Then there's CM Punk. He's the worst of them all. He's a liar. He lies to your face by saying he's the best in the world. He's not original. He's not unique. He's just a wannabe. And he knows deep down that I am the best in the world at everything I do." Chris Jericho says, "I don't have to, write it on the back of a t-shirt because I am it." He says, I've won every title you can conceivably win in the WWE. He made it to the finals of the Rumble. He was the very first undisputed world champion. And he says he has earned the right to call himself the best in the world. And he says it's the end of the world as you know it, and he has come back to claim what is his. So all of a sudden CM Punk's music hits. And I was just thinking to myself, oh man, these two guys in a microphone battle, like promo battle, this is probably going to be pretty good. Yeah, CM Punk comes out and he doesn't say anything. So there's that. He's wearing, funny enough, he's wearing a new shirt that says Best in the World on the back of it. And he comes down. He basically doesn't say anything to Jericho. He drops the mic in front of him and he just holds up the world title. Then he turns around and he's like showing Jericho the back of the shirt that says Best in the World, and he's, I guess, seeing if he's going to attack him. Jericho kind of gets a fist up like he should just attack him, but he doesn't. So CM Punk walks away. Chris Jericho starts screaming at him and going crazy, saying, look at me when I'm talking to you. You're copying me right now. You're a wannabe. And CM Punk just walks out of the arena holding the title up and just goes backstage. Never turns around, never looks at him, never says a word. I thought it was pretty crazy since, it had to be really hard for CM Punk to resist the urge to speak, because I know he likes to talk a lot on the mic, so. And the next match starts, which is Wade Barrett and Cody Rhodes versus the Great Khali and Randy Orton. And basically what happens here is Khali and Randy Orton trade chops instead of tags. Like there's some animosity here. They're not working together well as a team. Another spot that was kind of strange was Cody at one point throws Randy Orton into the turnbuckle. And then he goes for the spot where he's going to bounce off the ropes and hit a bulldog, but Randy Orton reverses it. But the crazy part is when he hits the turnbuckle, Randy Orton just kind of walks out casually. He doesn't sell it. He doesn't do anything. He just walks right out, and Cody Rhodes just kind of jumps onto him, and he just stands there and reverses the move. It looked really bad. And I don't know if they're starting, like I was afraid on SmackDown they might be setting up Cody Rhodes versus Great Khali. But now I'm thinking, which they could still do, but it could also be against Orton. And I know that Orton gets crazy and he gets mad when he has to work with people he don't like. Like at first he was, acting really goofy in the ring against Mark Henry. So I wonder if he was mad that they're setting him up with Khali, or that he even had to wrestle with him in one match tonight. May have made him angry, but it just looked like he was kind of off his game a little tonight. But, yeah, basically, Great Khali tags himself in. Cody Rhodes goes for that move where he jumps off the rope and tries to kick the guy, but Great Khali chops him, and he wins the match. After that, him and Randy Orton have a stare down, and the Great Khali chokes him and throws him in the ropes. Orton bounces off the ropes and ducks a chop, and then he hits Great Khali with an RKO. And this was really sad. I mean, the Great Khali looks so bad here. He is having problems walking. He makes Kevin Nash look like a gazelle. He has so much trouble just moving in this ring. And I think it's really, bad for this guy's health. Like, this is dangerous, him being in here. And then him trying to take bumps. Like, he's got to have a lot of health problems just from being that big. And I know people who have that, that size, being that big, like Andre the Giant and all them, they don't live very long. And for him to be in here doing this and taking these bumps, and I mean, sometimes they hit him with chairs. It's just not very good. I just don't like watching him at all. It makes me feel bad. I feel sorry for him. And I think he should just focus on movies or something else. But man, this guy, this is dangerous. It's not worth it for his health. He really shouldn't be out there at all. But that's just my thoughts on the Great Khali. And I mean, I know he's just there really because he's a spectacle to show how big he is. It's not like he can wrestle or anything, and they've just been trying to do stuff with this guy for so long just because of how big he is. But now it's got to the point where I think it's dangerous. Anyway, Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler are talking about how Cena and The Rock are going at each other on Twitter. Um, they're having kind of a little Twitter war. They show the really long Cena promo again. Um, yeah, that's it basically. Then the next match is Eve Torres, Kelly Kelly, Alicia Fox, and Tamina versus Beth Phoenix, the Bella Twins, and Natalya. They show a recap of Kane trying to attack Eve and Cena beating Kane up all over the arena. Then they show a little clip of Beth as she's walking down to the ring in a little promo talking about how she beat all the divas and there's no competition. And she's, unbeatable as champion. Which I thought was kind of funny because she's been off TV for a while. And I think the last match she had, I'm pretty sure about this, was against Alicia Fox. Who beat her? She did that kick move where she landed on her face. Beth Phoenix's face swelled up, and she was off TV for a while. And I'm pretty sure Alicia Fox won that match. But I get it, they're trying to build Beth Phoenix up as a big threat to Karma. But, once Karma beats Beth Phoenix, who do they have that is a realistic competitor for her? I mean, is she just going to, wrestle Santino? Or, I mean, even if she did that, then who would she wrestle? They just don't have enough girls for Karma to beat once she beats Beth Phoenix. That's really it. There's nowhere for her to go from there. But it was a it was a decent Divas match. Basically, Beth Phoenix slaps one of the Bella Twins and tags her in. The Bella Twin, stares at her and she's like, "What's your problem?" When she turns around, she gets attacked by Tamina. Tamina goes up for the splash, but the other Bella Twin kind of gets involved, and the referee, is distracted by her. Kelly Kelly and Alicia Fox pull the Bella Twin off. She hits her face on the apron pretty hard, it looked like. And the other Bella Twin, Tamina then hits the splash on the other Bella Twin for the win. That's really it. Natalya is just staring at Beth Phoenix, who just watched all this happen, like she doesn't really care about these tag matches. I wouldn't either if I was her, but she's a heel champion, so Natalya's, a victim of hers, and she's kind of just a lone person now. She has no allies anymore. Beth Phoenix is just, she thinks she's the best and that she owns the ring. So we'll see where they go from there. They show a clip of The Rock being on Jay Leno. Backstage, Triple H is on the phone and John Laurinaitis comes up. He's all happy and stuff, and he says, he's still the general manager of Raw. And that meeting with the board of directors, they were all professional, and from a humanistic standpoint, they were nice people. And he has asked them to bring in HBK and that Shawn Michaels will be there next week on Raw. And then he kind of starts telling Triple H about Shawn Michaels, and he says, "I know who he is." And he says, he also added a match to Elimination Chamber. He added John Cena versus Kane in an ambulance match. The crowd has no reaction. They don't care. No one cares about this. Why would you add a match like that to Elimination Chamber? Just make it Falls Count Anywhere or something. That's already way too many gimmicks. You're already having 2 Elimination Chamber matches, and now you're adding an ambulance match? That's just too much, I think. I think it's a little overkill, but Triple H acts like it's a good idea and says, "You must not have thought of that yourself. Someone told you." And then they make a joke, and he says, "Is there an ambulance here?" And John Laurinaitis says, "Yeah." And he says, "Maybe we should, hook it up to the heart monitor and see if your career's still alive." And Laurinaitis is like, "Aw, you kid too much. You're always kidding around like last week." Laurinaitis is so good. And then Triple H says, "Well, maybe I should just tie it up to you and see if I can, beat you to death or something." And it was just goofy stuff, but they show the Undertaker video again where he's staring at pictures of Triple H and saying this isn't over. Josh Matthews backstage asked John Laurinaitis what he thinks the decision is going to be from the board of directors. And he says, well, I made mistakes, but show me a successful man who hasn't. And I think the board wants someone who will own up to their mistakes they make, someone who's honest and has integrity, not someone who intimidates other people, who is a hothead, a brute. And he talks about how Triple H won't even wrestle The Undertaker, and that the board does not want someone who's so cowardly. Then they go to the 6-pack challenge with R-Truth, CM Punk, Chris Jericho, Dolph Ziggler, Kofi Kingston, and The Miz. I expect them to do the same thing on SmackDown with, the SmackDown Elimination Chamber, but it's basically a match where whoever gets the first pinfall or submission wins, and they get the last spot at Elimination Chamber. So they won't have to go into the ring until, everyone else is in. So this was a decent match. Truth, I think, got legit hurt here. There's a spot where he goes for a flip over the top rope, and Miz is on the outside like he's supposed to catch him, but doesn't at all. And R-Truth just basically hits like his tailbone lower back area directly onto the mat hard. And he kind of just rolls under the ring. Like he puts his head under the ring apron right after this spot. And then they eventually carry him to the back. I was thinking maybe this was planned and that they're going to replace Truth with Del Rio at the Elimination Chamber. But when they showed the replays over and over, this looked like he got legit messed up. So I think he's just really hurt, and they may bring back Del Rio earlier to put him in Truth's spot at the Elimination Chamber to fix this. Because if Truth is not better in time for this pay-per-view, they're going to have to find a replacement, because this guy looked like he got hurt bad, and I think he just had a concussion a month ago. So this was bad for R-Truth. But it was a pretty good match, and they keep Jericho and Punk away from each other for the most part. They don't let them touch or fight. There was some good spots here. Basically, it comes up to Punk and Jericho. They do have a stare down at one point, but then it's interrupted by The Miz and Dolph Ziggler. Miz goes for a skull-crushing finale on Chris Jericho, but he ducks, and Miz gets hit with the Trouble in Paradise. Kofi gets a lot of offense on Chris Jericho, but then he catches his leg from another Trouble in Paradise and puts him in the walls of Jericho. Punk breaks it up, and he throws Chris Jericho outside. Dolph Ziggler runs in and goes for a roll-up on Punk, but he kicks out and hits the GTS on Dolph. He goes for the pin, but before the ref gets to 3, Chris Jericho pulls him out before the 3 count and throws Punk just over a table. And Jericho gets in, steals the win. So Chris Jericho wins the match, and he gets the final spot at the Elimination Chamber. I kind of knew something like this would happen. It's best to give the final spot to a heel, because that way the babyface looks like he overcomes all the odds, and the heel, even if he wins, kind of, had a huge advantage. So that way everybody looks good at what they're doing at the Elimination Chamber. So I kind of thought Jericho would win this one. But then he just holds up the championship belt, and he's just sitting in the ring holding it up, like he's the champion. So it was pretty good. Backstage, you hear this woman screaming, and they cut to backstage, and Kane is standing next to Eve, and he says, "I'm so full of hate." And oh my god, this was just really goofy and stupid, but he's talking about how Cena better embrace the hate, and he better do it soon because he's getting scared, and he's scared of what's going to happen to Eve. He's scared of what's going to happen to Cena, and something that's never happened, he's scared of himself. And he's just breathing into her ear really hard, and that's it. Show goes off. So this was a pretty decent Raw. They didn't have Brodus Clay again, but it was a pretty alright show. It was a lot of stuff happened in this Raw with Jericho and Laurinaitis, Triple H and The Undertaker. So it was a pretty eventful show. but I found it entertaining for the most part. And I hope you guys like this review. And please subscribe to my channel. Hit the like button, leave some comments, and just thanks for listening. And I will be back again on Thursday for TNA Impact, and I may do some movie reviews between now and then. So check back for more, and thanks for listening. Bye.